Welcome back to a new episode of the Shout at the Devils podcast. I am Justin Brady, aka Devils Fanatics, and I'm here with my co-host Daniel Amoia, aka devils.report. He writes for the Hockey Writers, and it was a clean sweep for the Devils in Prague, taking down the Sabres in both Global Series games. The first game they won by a score of 4-1, and in the second game they won by a score of 3-1. Sheldon Keefe 2-0 on the season to start off his coaching career with the Devils. Daniel, what are your initial thoughts on the Devils' performance?
I mean, my immediate first thought is this is why preseason is almost worthless. I'm not going to say worthless, but so many people were complaining. Like, people were acting like the season was over before the regular season literally even started. And yes, granted, it was a rough preseason, but I said last episode that's something I talked to Sheldon Keefe about. And he said his number one goal of preseason was not to win, it was to make sure the team was in best possible shape to be ready for opening night. And his actions backed up his words there, or at least the team backed up his words. They were phenomenal. They skated the Sabres into ground and basically ran him out of the country of Czechia. I mean, they were great. They were really, especially in the second game.
Yeah, no, definitely. And this was the most structured I think I've ever seen a Devils team in at least quite a while. It's been a while since we've seen a team this structured. A complete effort both nights. It wasn't just one night, it was both nights. Everybody contributing, all four lines, all three D pairings, both goalies, both having stellar games in net. Just I love to see it. And they were really good in the forecheck, which was huge. That really stood out to me. In the neutral zone, they were able to force turnovers a lot, leading to great chances and opportunities for their team. And the Devils got great contributions from their bottom six: Nason, Holla, Cotter, Bastian, Lazar, McDermott, Palat. All those guys had great performances in the first two games of the year. They really were able to rough up the team, provide the Devils with the secondary scoring. They were great on the penalty kill. The Devils did not give up one power play goal to the Buffalo Sabres, which was really good. You love to see that. And yeah, I really love the performance overall by the team. But Daniel, there's a lot of players that stood out in these first two games. Give me a couple players that stood out to you.
Well, I think, first of all, I have to go Jacob Markstrom. I mean, goaltending has just been such a pressing issue for the New Jersey Devils for a while now, really, with the 22-23 season kind of being an outlier where they caught lightning in a bottle with Vitek Vanacek. But for Jacob Markstrom to come in and immediately make one of the saves, I mean, I would argue the save he made stopping that shot in the crease was probably better than any save the Devils made all of last season. I remember one with Nico Dawes in game like 50 something where he like reached out with the stick, but even that took 50 something games. Like the fact that Markstrom immediately highlight reel save like kind of set the tone there, and it's really just incredible that it was weird. Like just watching like last season, whether I was in the press box or at home, like I felt like I had to hold my breath every single time there was like a shot on net, no matter where it was. And this time, especially with Markstrom, like it wasn't like, oh my God, this might be a goal. It was like, all right, like he's gonna turn that rebound aside, it's gonna go into the corner, defense is gonna get on it. Like it's just a completely different dynamic. So it was almost strange in a way to not have to hold my breath and be like, wow, that might be a goal. Like it's almost soothing in a fact. Like it's so less anxiety inducing. But yeah, Markstrom gave them everything they could have asked for. He had a 968 save percentage, top 30 of 31. I mean, come on, the Devils. I have it written down here. Last season, the Devils only allowed one goal or less 10 times. They've already done that twice. So 20% of the way there in the season. They haven't even played a game in North America yet. So yeah, got to give my hats off to Jacob Markstrom. And there's another one. I know you're gonna say him, so I'm gonna leave him to you. Everyone listening knows who I'm gonna say, but I'll keep that. I'll go with my backup option, Brendan Dillon. You mentioned that the Devils were roughing up the other team, but I'd almost disagree with that in a sense. Hits today, I think the Sabres out hit the Devils by like 8 or 9. But the major difference is, even though the Devils may not be like out hitting a team or like just like running around like a guy like Matt Rempe and just trying to hit everyone everywhere, they're doing it when it matters. They're getting the body when they need to. They're sticking up for each other after whistles when they need to. That stuff doesn't show on the stat sheet, but that makes a massive, massive, massive difference. Not just on the ice, but for team morale, etc. I mean, you look at all these new guys they brought in. You have Stefan Nason, Paul Cotter, you have Brendan Dillon, Jonathan Kovacevic. All those guys, like, they've been open about wanting to change the dynamic of the way the Devils play. And Fitzgerald said himself last year that they weren't playing tough enough. And all those guys, they're able to be tough. They're big bodies. They're able to they have great personalities. Like, we saw some of the videos in the locker rooms after that the Devils post on their socials. Like they're having fun. Like, they're showing personality. And obviously last season was such a, for lack of a better word, depressing season for the Devils, that they're just in such a rut, and it didn't seem like they were having fun. And I know it's only been 2 games, but you gotta like what you see because they've been having fun. So that's my second player, Brendan Dillon. Just taking the body when he needs to. He had that massive hit on JJ Peterka. It got downgraded. Originally, it was a major, and then they downgraded it to just a minor for interference. Dillon's gonna be a guy that kind of plays on the edge. That's how he's succeeded in his 15-year NHL career. He's able to take the body effectively. He's able to play solid defense. He could move the puck well. And we saw a little bit of everything. Obviously, hopefully, JJ Peterka is okay. But obviously, my mentions are flooded with Sabres fans saying it was a dirty hit. If it was a dirty hit, the NHL would have kept it as a major. The main point of contact was not the head. It still was an illegal hit. It was interference, yes. But it wasn't some like dirty, malicious, suspendable act. It was just Brendan Dillon trying to spark his team with a big hit and standing up the body, which Devils fans haven't really seen their defensemen lay hits like that really anytime recently. I could think of a hit Kevin Ball had in preseason last year. That's like the closest thing I could think of. But yeah. And basically, we could talk about all the new guys, like you said. Yeah. Basically, the entire bottom 6, except I'm going to disagree with you. Curtis McDermott, I did not see do anything.
I just threw him in there because he was in the bottom 6. He did nothing, though.
Yeah. But regardless, all the new guys making an immediate impact. And it's not, that's the thing. For a winning hockey team, it's not always the superstars that make you so successful. It's those role players, the guys who are able to grind, create goals off of pressure. The guys who are maybe putting up 30, 40 points in a season, but in Stefan Nason's words, are working their balls off, trying to do everything they can to help the team succeed. Those players help win championships. And not going to get ahead of myself, obviously. It's been 2 games. But you have to like what you see out of the Devils so far.
Yeah, and to build on what you said about Brendan Dillon, he gave me a little bit of a flashback to Scott Stevens. I know he's not going to be anywhere the type of player that Scott Stevens was, but honestly, he's the closest thing we've had to Scott Stevens in quite a while. Just seeing that big open ice hit was awesome to see, whether it was interference or not. And then Alex Tuch tried to contest him with a fight, and Brendan Dillon manhandled him. It was pretty funny to see. So, love seeing that out of Brendan Dillon. He's here to be a physical defenseman, and we've seen that in a small sample size so far. For me...
Sorry, I just have to add real quick. Like, there's a reason the Devils paid over market value for him. Like, that you could argue, but based on the books and the numbers, they overpaid for him because they did. They gave him significantly more than what his market value was worth. But with that being said, that just proves that the Devils knew how important of a player Brendan Dillon was to their organization. So even if they made the cap situation a little tighter by bringing him in, it's something they needed to do. If that's the difference between being a losing and winning team, you're going to make that move even if you're overspending a bit. And I think both with Cotter and Brendan Dillon, because you could argue both of them by overall public perception were overpays, but it doesn't matter when those players are turning you into a winning team. So,
yeah, no one's calling Paul Cotter an overpay, and that's one of my player spotlights. He was awesome. He's just everywhere. He does everything. He reminds me of Blake Coleman, like a David Clarkson type of player. He does everything. The forecheck, back check. He produces on offense. Great in the penalty kill. Defense, stellar. Very stellar on defense. Gets to his assignments. He's fast. We saw his hands on the go-ahead goal in the second game of the Global Series. Jack Hughes with an amazing feed to him, and he used those nifty hands, though. He's got some good hands on him, and he was able to get it past the goalie. Really impressive stuff from Paul Cotter. Everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people are saying, oh, we gave up Alexander Holtz, future star player, and Akira Schmid. No one's saying that anymore. Everyone's like, yes, Paul Cotter's a devil. Where can I get his jersey? That's what everybody's saying right now. So he was awesome. And we got to talk about Seamus Casey. What a first two games for him. You cannot have a better first two games of your NHL career than Seamus Casey just had. Your first career NHL game, which you looked pretty confident and stellar in. Then the second game is where it really gets going for him. First NHL goal to tie the game up on a power play off of a beautiful snipe. The Devils didn't have a power play goal up to that point, and Casey provided that for them. Nice toe drag, nice wrist shot, past the goalie, tied game, really got the team going. And then to win a Rolex, of all things, Kovacevic won it too for the first game for being MVP of the game. Imagine you get your first career NHL goal, you get a friggin' Rolex of all things, and then you play your first two NHL games and have a huge impact on it for the team in a whole other country. He's on cloud nine right now. Great for him. And based off this small sample size, we're going to talk about it going further here. But it's like, how do you take him out of the lineup? Like, it feels like you just can't right now. And I don't want to go indefinite because we don't know the status of Brett Pesce right now. We don't know if he's going to be ready for opening night. Luke Hughes is going to be gone for another 3-4 weeks, possibly more than that. We don't know the status on him at the moment. But when Pesce comes back, it's going to be interesting to see who they take out of the lineup. But you can't take out Kovacevic either. He looked great in the first two games as well. Had a big goal in the first game and looked very confident, very stellar in defense, strong on the puck. It's going to be hard to really take a guy out on that blue line. And this is a great problem to have if you're a Devils fan or if you're the New Jersey Devils in general. They never had this type of depth on their blue line in quite a while, and it's really good to have competition and have guys compete for their spot. But overall, everybody in the blue line looked really good. I thought Siegenthaler, being paired with Kovacevic, was the best he looked in quite a while. So I love seeing that. He had a really down year last year, so I'm hoping that pairing can really complement each other well going forward. And yeah, I mean, great overall team effort, Daniel. Anything else you want to add real quick?
Not anything specifically, but since we're mentioning players, I guess I'll throw one little tidbit out. Timo Meier, we saw what he was able to do last season down the stretch when he was healthy. And in the beginning of last season, he was kind of invisible. And same with Dawson Mercer, two guys who are kind of X factors to me, just simply because they're so important. They're guys who are capable of putting up big points when they're on. And both of them, I think, looked phenomenal. Timo Meier generated 1.57 expected goals today. The Sabres as a team generated 2.06. So Meier generated roughly about 3/4, maybe a little more, of the expected goals that the entire Buffalo Sabres team had. And that speaks to both how well Meier has played and how the Devils were able to shut Buffalo down. And Mercer as well, he had his legs so tenacious on the puck. It almost seems like now that the contract stuff is out the window, he's kicked it into a different gear, and that's very important as well.
Yeah, he might have not gotten any points, but especially on the penalty kill, big impact in that first game. Really good overall. I love what I'm seeing from Dawson Mercer. I love what I'm seeing from everybody. And its question is, how can they build on from this? Will fatigue or jet lag play into factor when you're coming from Europe all the way back to the States now? It's a question. I mean, it could very well happen. The Devils could suffer from jet lag or fatigue or something like that for being in another country for about a week or so. So we'll see how they react to that and see how they can build going forward here. But it's going to be interesting. Home opener, Maple Leafs, and they have a game just 2 days after that at D.C. And then on Columbus Day, they're going to be taking on their first game against the Utah Hockey Club. So really good first 3 games there in the States. So really looking forward to that and seeing how the team could build on from this performance. Really hoping they could keep it going because you lose to the Leafs at home, and then it's just like, oh no, it would be a little bit of a damper of what you just did in Prague. To really start off a season 3-0 would be amazing. They only won 3 games in a row, like 2 times all of last season. So to do that in the first 3 games of the year, pretty surreal, and that just goes to show that the team's going in the right direction and could be a real good playoff contender this year. Not getting ahead of myself, but based off what we've seen, really good stuff. So overall, great job by the Devils this past few days.
I would just want to add, can't finish this episode without talking about how many shots the Devils blocked. They blocked 40 shots this weekend.
I forgot about that one. Yeah,
18 yesterday, 22 today.
just phenomenal, honestly. They constantly getting in the lane. Nemitz and Dillon both had 5 block shots in the second game in Prague. That's phenomenal. I mean, they're showing that they're putting the body on the line to prevent the other team from scoring, and that buy-in is something that keeps stressed, and it certainly looks like they're buying into Keith's system. Also, quick little update because a lot of people were talking about this. Kevin Labanc signed with the Columbus Blue Jackets. He was phenomenal for the Devils on a PTO contract, scoring 6 goals in just 3 games, I believe. But I just want to kind of clear the air because a lot of people are, possibly even yourself if you're listening to this, are quite unhappy. And I just want to say that based on the Devils cap situation, they wouldn't have been able to sign him to a direct NHL deal, meaning they would have had to sign him to a two-way deal, and he would have had to clear waivers in which he would have gotten claimed by Columbus anyways, because they have waiver priority over the Devils. So essentially, because of the Dawson Mercer contract, now that that's finalized and the Devils have less than $1 million in cap space, it was not possible, unfortunately, for them to add Kevin Labanc. So he did play great. It's a little unfortunate, but given the whole Johnny Gaudreau situation, Columbus obviously needing to add NHL contracts, I think that's a big win for them because Kevin Labanc was great in the preseason and he definitely showed that he has some left in the tank. And as James Nichols of New Jersey Hockey Now mentioned on his Twitter, the Devils can always trade for Labanc at, say, the trade deadline, and not San Jose, sorry, Columbus would probably gladly take an asset for someone they just signed to basically league minimum. So it's not out of the realm that down the stretch, knowing that the Devils liked what they saw out of Labanc enough to give him a PTO, it's not it's not impossible that they can bring him back at one point if they truly feel that someone like Nate Bastian isn't producing as much as they'd want to, and they feel that Labanc could be better suited for that role. So just want to clear the air there since I've seen so much talk about that.
Thank you for adding that. Appreciate that. And yeah. Thank you guys for all the amazing support. Hockey season's underway and the episodes are gonna keep on ramping up, keep on getting better as the season goes on. If you have any suggestions or opinions on our podcast, please let us know in the comments. Any feedback really helps the both of us give out the best podcast for you guys possible. And yeah, and we're gonna have an episode coming out by the time you guys are listening to this in 2 days. So if you have any reactions, opinions on the team, make sure to comment on this video, and we're going to be reacting to those opinions and giving us our thoughts on what you guys are saying to us. So, yeah, thank you guys all. Appreciate you. Love you all, and peace out.
Peace.